everybody, whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world. This is Coast to Coast. I am solo today, so you will have to deal with me by myself. Good to see some of you already here. And so we are Super Friday ahead of the Super Bowl, but last night was the NFL honors, and they gave away some of the awards, MVP, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, things like that. And they went more or less, thank you, Butch. They went more or less how you thought they would go. So when you're looking at, who won, Josh Allen gets the MVP. This one has a little bit of scrutiny behind it because at the end of the day, Lamar had a better season. So when you look at it statistically, Lamar should have won it again, but they weren't going to give it to him back to back. It just wasn't going to happen. This is more of a legacy award for Josh Allen. He did have an MVP caliber year, so I'm not saying that at all. But if you're looking at stats and wins don't matter, Joe Burrow realistically probably could have won this. He had a phenomenal season. And if you're talking about most valuable player, Joe Burrow just missed the playoffs, and they don't play defense in Cincinnati. So this one was more of they wanted to give it to Josh Allen, not to say that he wasn't deserving, but Lamar had better numbers across the board. How's it going, Chris? So, Josh Allen getting the award, I don't have a problem with it. At the same time, I think it was more just to make sure that he got one. So then you go to Offensive Player of the Year, Saquon Barkley. A lot of people thought he probably should have been the MVP, but it's a quarterback award. No matter what people say, it's so rare for anybody else to get it. And if anyone else gets it, it's generally a running back. So he would have had a shot there. But for him to win it, he would have needed to not only break Dickerson's record, which he was in range of, but he would have needed more touchdowns. And the tush push probably kept him from being able to win the MVP. If he was in that conversation of the, Sean Alexander, LaDainian Tomlinson, Adrian Peterson, where they were resetting the touchdown record on top of all the rushing yards, then he probably would have had a better shot at winning the MVP. But only having, I think it was 14 touchdowns and coming up short of the record, there was just no way he was going to win based on the year that Josh Allen had, based on the year that Lamar Jackson had, and of course, Joe Burrow. So as much as you probably think he was deserving of it, and as much as he probably was, he was just never really going to get it. Offensive Player of the Year is exactly where I thought he would land. And so it was good to see him. Defensive Player of the Year, that one was a little bit of a surprise to me. And not that I don't think he should have won, because he had a phenomenal season, but I thought it was going to end up going to, a rusher, right? The TJ Watts, Myles Garrett's, Max Crosby's of the world. Like I thought that's where it was going to go. So Patrick Surtain getting it, don't have a problem with it, but pretty cool. Chris, Hamlin couldn't win Comeback Player of the Year because technically he came back last year. The fact that he didn't win it last year didn't make any sense at all. But I feel like if your heart stops on the field and you take another snap in your career, you should have won. But if he was going to win, it was going to be last year. He didn't have, he wasn't in the running for it this year. I actually like Joe Burrow winning Comeback Player because they kept talking about somehow Sam Darnold, even though they changed the rule. So in theory, Sam Darnold shouldn't have been eligible to win it anyway. People kept talking about potentially he's going to get that award because the last few times it was given out to quarterbacks that were coming back from being bad or lack of opportunities. So I don't really agree with it going there. Joe Burrow getting it makes all the sense in the world, right? He gets hurt last year. He's coming back. He has an MVP caliber season. If his team played defense at all. Absolutely at all. He would have he would have been in the playoffs, and who knows? Maybe this game is looking a little bit different. Tough to say. I don't have a good answer for this one. He should have won last year. The fact that Flacco won it makes no sense at all, because Flacco, I think he played 5 games and he played okay, right? Like, he wasn't great. He put up some yards, but his touchdown to interception ratio was almost exactly the same, right? So there was nothing about his play that made me think, oh yeah, he should win it over Hamlin. I think what hurt Hamlin was he had so limited play time. I think he ended up with like 1 or 2 snaps a game at best. And, he wasn't starting. Not that that's bad. I mean, again, he worked his way back onto the roster and onto the field. So, it's not that I think he wasn't deserving of it. I thought for sure it was a slam dunk. Like, he put on a jersey. I was like, it's a wrap. But yeah, somehow Flacco ends up getting it. And, I didn't agree with it. I didn't agree with it when Gino got it. I mean, he got comeback player of the year for having a great year, his first year here in Seattle, but it didn't make any sense because all he did was come back from lack of opportunity and prior to that being bad. So what are you coming back from? Right? Like, that's why I like that they kind of switched it over to, you need to be coming back from an injury or something like that, because that makes sense, right? Like, you're finding your way coming back into the league from something that potentially would knock you out. And so, I don't know. It's a little bit weird that Hamlin didn't win it last year, but yeah, I think he should have, despite the fact that he really didn't play. I think he played, again, a couple of snaps a game at best. And yes, Chris, Snoop making fun of Belichick's girlfriend was absolutely hilarious and was necessary for the show. Like, that was amazing. We got a stat guy in the house. But it's not letting him in. So, oh well. Nope. What's up, man?
How much?
So, just going over some of the awards. I hit up the MVP. That was no shock, right? Because you knew they weren't going to give it to Lamar in back-to-back seasons. Offensive Player of the Year was a slam dunk. Nobody was even thinking about anybody else. Defensive Player of the Year, I was a little bit surprised Surtain got it. I thought it was going to be a rusher, but good for him. I mean, he had a great season.
I thought it was going to go to Derek Stingley.
Yeah, I mean, that could have worked too. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the only ones on here that I didn't basically guess was Coach of the Year, because that one's always, you never know, right? And I didn't get Coach of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, or the Walter Payton. I never even guessed at that one, because that one just seems so random. But comeback player, Joe Burrow made the most sense to me. Jared Verse, I thought, was going to get that Defensive Rookie of the Year.
I thought Sam Darnold could have got comeback player of the year over Joe Burrow.
Well, no, he's not supposed to be eligible for it this year.
How was Burrow eligible for it?
Because he was hurt last year. He's coming back from injury.
He wasn't hurt the whole year, though. He was only hurt like 4 games.
You don't have to miss a whole season. Ugh. You just have to be coming back from something.
Yeah, just give it to DeMar Hamlin.
Well, no, I mean, DeMar Hamlin got hosed. There's no, and that's exactly why they changed the rule, because you went from Gino getting it from lack of opportunity and being bad. Then you have Flacco coming in and winning 6 or 7 games, which who cares? And he's coming back from what? Playing for the Jets.
Yep.
I mean, that's not really an ailment. It's an affliction for sure, but it's not an ailment. So I like that. I like that they changed it to where
playing for the Jets is an ailment.
But I like that they came back to it needs to be an injury. And I think that happened because of DeMar Hamlin, right? Flacco wins it somehow, right? DeMar Hamlin comes back from literally restarting his heart on the field. Now, he didn't play a lot.
He was dead. He was dead. He came back from being dead on the field.
The fact that he suited up should have been enough to win that award. Yeah. So, especially because he did step on the field. So it's not like it was, we brought him back for the sake of bringing him back. He did play like some special team stuff throughout the season. So, I mean, he was involved with the team, not heavily, but I mean, even when he went down, he wasn't a starter. So, although he started this year and has looked great. So kudos to him for turning his career around, I guess, in a way. But yeah, I mean, the fact that he got snubbed last year on Comeback Player of the Year, I think is exactly why they changed the way the rule is. And even if it was the same, Burrow would have still won over Darnold.
Defensive Player of the Year, I can understand why they gave it to Jared Verse. I would have gave it to Quinyon Mitchell. In Philly, I would have gave it to over Jared Verse.
So yes and no. And maybe it's just because, I watch some of these West games a little bit closer, but there were times that Verse really held that linebacking core down. And so, whereas Philly, they have a lot of good players, right? Like, I mean, they have half of the Georgia Bulldogs on that team. So, I mean, did they have some standouts? Sure. But there was a lot of good pieces. Whereas for the Rams, there were times that Jared Verse was the only one really doing anything. So I liked that Defensive Rookie of the Year. That's one that, probably 2/3 of the way through the season, I was like, I feel like that's the guy. Offensive Rookie of the Year, that was a no-brainer. That was a slam dunk the whole way.
Coach of the Year, I thought it was going to come between Dan Quinn and Kevin O'Connell, but when you look at how bad the Vikings were predicted to be, I think at that point it was a lock for Kevin O'Connell.
Well, and that's exactly why I think he won, is because people are slating them as a 4 or 5 win team.
Like even like Washington was predicted to win 7 or 8 games. Like they weren't predicted to be a playoff team, but at least they were predicted to be competitive, versus Minnesota was predicted to have a top 5 pick heading into next year's draft.
Exactly. Yeah. No. So, and that's why I say, like, I wouldn't have got that one right, just because there were some guys that I think were all in the mix for it. But
Dan Campbell, I knew, was in the mix for it too. And granted, a lot of people expected Detroit to be where they were.
Yeah.
The amount of injuries that they had the second half of the year, and that to be able to continue winning games is why Dan Campbell put his name in there too.
No, and that's why I actually thought Dan Campbell had a real shot, right? Is because he had 13 defensive players on IR. That's insane.
Well, 9 of them were starters too. The only two starters that did not get hurt were, I think, Terry and Arnold, who was their rookie cornerback, and then they had like a linebacker that did not get hurt. Otherwise, everybody else went down.
Yeah. No, I mean, it didn't – for them to keep winning didn't make any sense when you saw how many guys got hurt, because that's not including the offensive side of the ball. That was 13 players just on defense. Like, that is pretty wild. So, but yeah, I liked the Kevin O'Connell as the Coach of the Year. Like, I was good with that. And Eric Armstead as the Walter Payton Man of the Year. Again, everybody that gets nominated for that is worthy of it, right? Yeah. So that one I never even try and guess, because it's
every team has a nominee. You never know who's going to get it out of the teams.
Exactly. And I mean, again, every one of them deserve it. So, yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of where it ended up. Again, for me, like the only two that I didn't really see coming was Coach of the Year, just because there were a few guys that could have done it, and Defensive Player of the Year. Again, just because there was a few guys that I thought would get it, but everybody else, I pretty much felt like I knew how it was going to go down.
I am surprised that Barkley finished 3rd in the MVP voting. I thought he was going to get second, just because, like you said, they weren't going to vote Lamar MVP again. So if knowing that, it was pretty much like, okay, Josh Allen or Saquon if you're not going to vote Lamar MVP.
No. So the thing is you were still going to vote Lamar. You just weren't going to let him win, right? Because you couldn't not vote him, because his numbers were better than Allen's across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you put the stat lines up side by side, which I guess I should have made a graphic for it. But I mean, Lamar's numbers in every category are better.
Yeah, then he should have got the MVP then over Josh Allen, because Josh Allen's numbers really, I mean, yes, they're good, but when you look at Josh Allen's numbers and you compare him to like just some of the regular quarterbacks like Joe Burrow, Sam Darnold, even not Jalen Hurts, but even some of these other quarterbacks, Justin Herbert.
Oh,
Josh Allen's numbers are not that good, or like not MVP worthy numbers.
Well, no, he had an MVP caliber season, right? Because you can't discount the middle word there at valuable.
Yeah.
He makes up like 90% of their offense.
Yeah.
Right. So valuable hits that, right? But if you're looking at just stats, then Joe Burrow should have won.
Yeah.
Because Burrow killed it. They just didn't have anybody suiting up on the other side of the ball. But yeah, I mean, if you're talking Josh Allen and Lamar, because wins matter, you know, even though everybody says wins aren't a quarterback stat, they are when you evaluate literally anything, you know. Exactly. So when you're looking at it that way, that's how Burrow gets left out. And then, so now you're left with Allen and Lamar. Lamar wins last year. His numbers are better than last year's numbers. They're better than Allen's numbers. He's also who was voted as first team All-Pro. Mm-hmm. Ahead of who? Oh, Allen. So the fact that you are getting the MVP but not the first team All-Pro
doesn't make sense.
Is hilarious. And they did that in basketball, right? They did that with Embiid a couple years ago. So it's not like it's not something we've seen. But if you're looking at the way the other things were voted and the numbers, Lamar should have won back-to-back. But it's a voting game, right? This, before you got on, I called it a legacy award, right?
Yeah.
They're just like, okay, you know what? Josh Allen hasn't won one. He had an MVP caliber season. He should be in the conversation for sure. We don't want to give it to Lamar back-to-back years. We're going to give it to Josh Allen, despite the fact that his numbers aren't quite as good and he doesn't win first team All-Pro, but we're going to give him most valuable. The knock for Lamar is the fact that he has Derrick Henry. Not to say that Josh Allen doesn't have an adequate running game. They do, but they don't have Derrick Henry.
No.
So that's one of the things that kind of went against Lamar, even though, let's be honest, the Ravens didn't use Derrick Henry to.
They didn't use him the way they should have.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, realistically, Lamar's numbers shouldn't have been as good as they were because they should have been using Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
They should have been doing exactly what the Eagles are doing with Saquon.
Yeah.
But
I did like
that's not how it went down.
I did like when Snoop Dogg was joking about Joe Burrow not having a defense.
I mean, there was just no defense. Yeah,
no,
he was
hilarious. Joe Burrow looked at him like, "Really, you're going to go there?"
Oh yeah. I mean, his monologue was funny. Let's see. Should win this every year. I mean, he's definitely the most valuable to the team because the fact that he completes passes behind that offensive line is impressive. It's one of the things I crack up about here in Seattle is the fan base is so anti-Geno, which is laughable, right? So he's been our starter for 3 years now, right? His first year as a starter, our offensive line actually stayed pretty healthy. He sets the single season passing record, right? Mm-hmm. Last year, it took till week 15 to get our starting offensive line rotation. Nobody's going to be good behind that. We watched Kyler struggle behind that. We watched Stafford struggle behind that. Like, you just got a rotating cast of offensive linemen. Your quarterback's going to struggle. Like, there's just nothing you're going to do. And then this year, new coaching, question marks all over the defense, and an offensive line that wildly underperformed, right? Bottom 5. He again sets the single season passing record for the Seahawks.
Right.
Despite being the most hurried quarterback in the league and having 2.1 seconds to try and throw the ball. which means he's running for his life all the time. So, and there's so many people within this fan base here that are just like, get rid of him. And it's like, okay, well, what's your plan? It's like, no plan. Like, they don't have an answer for who they'd rather have. They're like, well, he's not Josh Allen or Mahomes. It's like, yeah, well, that's because there's 3 elite quarterbacks in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's everybody else. So it's not like you're going to get rid of Geno and then just miraculously land Mahomes.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Burrow or Allen or Lamar. So I guess there's 4. But still, I mean, you're like, what are we talking about right now? There's 32 teams. There's 4 elite guys. Let's calm down. How about we fix the offensive line? Because they're like, well, we could go draft somebody. It's like, cool. So you want to get a rookie murdered behind one of the worst offensive lines in the league. Like, that's
why not? The Bears trying to do it with Caleb Williams this year. Why not?
Yeah, no, solid plan. We've seen it work out great all around the league. Right. Bryce Young comes to mind. He's had an amazing start to his career with no offensive line.
Exactly.
Yeah. So our fan base is a little frustrating at times because you're just like, do you guys even think? Actually, I'll just stop right there. Do you even think? Just
no.
Just in general, it's a good thing breathing doesn't require thought. It just is one of those things your body does on its own. Because I feel like some of these people would forget to do it.
Hey, we'll learn quick enough.
So that is some of my frustration with my own fan base. How about that?
Yeah.
All right, so that gets us through the.
Some of my frustrations with my fan base are they want Kevin O'Connell fired because they didn't win a playoff game this year, and the guy just won Coach of the freaking year. So hey,
I mean, to be fair,
we could have Brad Childress.
We have seen somebody win Coach of the Year and get fired last year, or I mean the next year.
Yeah.
So
no, that's the next year. They want him fired like now. Like they didn't even want him to get his extension that he got.
Oh yeah, just collect your award and kick rocks.
That's what my fan base is doing right now. They're not happy that O'Connell got the extension. I'm like, oh,
that is awesome.
I'm pretty sure 27 or 28 other teams would have O'Connell on the phone the minute he left the door.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah.
The only ones that wouldn't are probably the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Steelers, and the Ravens. Everybody else would probably have O'Connell on the phone the moment he walked out the door and be like, hey.
I mean, with the only open job still is the Saints,
well,
right?
No, like in general, like if like a coach was on like the last year of his contract before they got like an extension, like if O'Connell left, there'd be like 28 other teams would be on the phone the moment he left the building and said, hey, come on over.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think he would just literally get on the plane right to
wherever you go.
Like he would just be like, okay, cool, that was fun, and off we go. So, but yeah, so that gets through the awards. There was some good stuff. I did like some of the Hall of Fame, and probably the biggest one that I liked was Sterling Shepard getting in.
Sterling Sharp.
Or Sharp, I mean, yes.
Yeah. Sterling Shepard has got no shot to get in.
He does in NASCAR, but but yeah, Sterling Sharp. So it was cool to see him get in, and long overdue.
Did you see the video how he found out?
Yeah, Shannon had him come over like that. Yeah. That was cool. That was cool.
I'm surprised they didn't put Eli in yet.
I am not.
The two Super Bowl wins, especially that one over the 18-0 Patriots that year, I'm surprised they have not put him in because of that.
Everybody's argument. The problem is his numbers aren't great, right?
I will say his regular season numbers aren't great, but his playoff numbers are outstanding.
So he has 2 excellent playoff runs. Outside of those 2 years, he lost every playoff game he played.
Yeah.
So he had 2 runs in the playoffs,
which is more than some Hall of Fame quarterbacks have.
No, I'm not disputing that. Trent Dilfer has a Super Bowl ring. Like, what are we talking about right now?
And he didn't even have a good playoff run. He was backed by a good defense and didn't have to do anything.
I mean, that was Eli's first one. That defense was elite.
Same thing with Brad Johnson. When Brad Johnson won his Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, he was backed by a good defense and had to do nothing.
Yeah. So, way to help me make my point. Like, he didn't deserve to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Does he get in? Of course he does.
Yeah,
right?
I know. I'm not saying he should have been a first ballot. This is a second year in the ballot, wasn't it?
First.
Okay, then never mind. I thought it was a second year.
No. This is the first time he's had a shot at it.
Okay, so then I'm not surprised.
He is not a first
No,
ballot.
I thought it was a second year. I thought last year was his first year, and that's why I said I was surprised that he didn't get it on his second year. I thought this was a second year.
No. This was his first year of eligibility, and
I think he gets it next year.
Me too. I just don't think that he was first ballot worthy.
No.
I mean, when you look at his wins and losses, it's 117, right? Yeah. He's a 500 quarterback. And during his time, even in Super Bowl runs, right? He's never been an all-pro. He's never been lauded as the best at his position at any point in his career, right? Like the only thing he has going for him is he has a lot of passing yards because he was in the league forever, right? He's got a lot of touchdowns, but he has a lot of interceptions.
And the other thing he's got going for him is his last name.
Yeah, I mean, that'll help. The 2 rings are the only reason he gets in.
Well, I would say this too. Like, let's just take both rings out, or not both rings. Let's just leave the ring from when he beat the undefeated Patriots and get rid of the other ring.
That gets him in. That one on its own gets him in.
Yep. And if you take that ring away and give him that second ring, if he had similar numbers to like Philip Rivers, if he had similar numbers to like a lot of quarterbacks who are borderline Hall of Fame quarterbacks, his last name is what I think. His last name was, I think, what would get him in.
So, I mean, it would certainly help. But if he were to have the same numbers he has, not have the undefeated ring, right? But he has the one other ring, that gets him in ahead of Rivers, even though Rivers has better numbers in literally every category imaginable.
Yep.
And Rivers may not get in, despite the fact that
he'll get in.
He should. But he's not going to be a first ballot either.
No, he'll be like a third, I think.
Exactly. So it's maybe a fifth.
No, I don't think he goes down that far because despite not having a lot of playoff success, he was still one of the best quarterbacks of the 2000s into the 2010s. I mean, you can't argue the numbers that he put up.
Oh no! Like he was a regular season champ.
And when you look at Philip Rivers too, apart from having Antonio Gates for 10, 11 years when he was with the Chargers, Philip Rivers really did not have a true number 1 wide receiver. It was literally Antonio Gates. You had LaDainian Tomlinson, who you could throw to out of the backfield, but you didn't have like that true number 1 receiver until Keenan Allen came in the league in 2012, and by that point, Rivers was already past his prime. By that point,
well, and not just that, when he would get one, he'd have them for like a season rental.
Yeah. So I mean, the numbers that Rivers put up, like he did that with having a great tight end, but not an elite number 1 wide receiver versus Eli. Plaxico Burress was a very good wide receiver when he was with Eli. Like he was a legitimate number 1 wide receiver with Eli. Like Eli had the benefits of having legitimate wide receiver options to throw to him, like Rivers did.
Yeah. When Snoop is the skinniest dude ever, I feel like my arms are probably about as big around as his legs.
Whoever's hating on, don't be hating on Snoop. That man is amazing.
No, he is fantastic. And again, his monologue was hilarious. But she's just talking about how skinny he is. And exactly, Steve-O. Like he's a skinny dude, but he's not trying to be big, So
at least not big in that regard. He's trying to be big in terms of like he's one of the more well-known celebrities just because of everything he does now. Like he makes 7, 8, 9 times more money now than he did when he was actually singing.
Oh, no question.
Like right now,
endorsement deals and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He probably makes the most money just solely off of endorsements over any celebrity out there for just everything he touches.
Oh, yeah.
And I kind of use the Dwayne The Rock Johnson comparison with him, where every movie that Dwayne The Rock Johnson has done is pretty much turned into gold just because of the celebrity Dwayne The Rock Johnson is. Everything that Snoop Dogg touches turns to gold, whether it's being a judge on The Voice, whether it's being a host at the Olympics, a host for the honors thing.
So to add to that is he literally has a commercial about like a camp stove.
Yeah.
And his commercial is, "You're gonna buy this because I'm Snoop."
Yep. The commercial that he had on T-Mobile with Patrick Mahomes, with basically saying that Mahomes is leaving, and then he's like, "Oh, he's not leaving." Yeah. T-Mobile sales went up like 350% the moment that commercial came out with Snoop Dogg, and Patrick Mahomes is like, "Well, that worked in our favor." Corona sales have gone up since Snoop Dogg's been doing it.
I mean, if you had a mascot, like, he's the guy. Like, if we could get him on this show, would be amazing.
You don't even need him on the show. Just give him a 30-second snippet to endorse the show, and then everything would change.
Oh, yeah. Your follower number would go through the roof.
The nice logo that you have on your shirt right there, have him turn that into a robe. You put that right on the back of the robe. There you go.
That'd be hilarious. So yeah, no, it's like I would love to be Snoop in this scenario. I mean, people just hand him money to do the dumbest stuff possible.
I mean, they handed him.
I'm not mad at it. Make that money. I mean,
they handed him $6 million to be on The Voice, to turn a chair. Yeah. You want to hand me $6 million to turn a chair and listen to people sing? I might not know anything about music, but I know if a person sounds good, I'll take $6 million to spin a chair.
I mean, to be fair, they have a version of it with like little kids as judges. So
that's what I'm saying. Give me $6 million. I can push a button to turn a chair.
Let's go. So on the backside of our little ads here, you got to tell us about the press conference you were at. But before we do that, if you're here in the Pacific Northwest, you use this QR code on the screen for your 5-day pass at any of the 3 True Fusion locations: Bellevue, Ballard, University Village, Pilates Boot Camp, Yoga, Bar, and more. Find your edge at True Fusion Gym. And of course, if you are going to be betting for the Super Bowl, do it alongside us here at Coast to Coast using this QR code on the screen. Your first 3 deposits up to 125% of those deposits, and a 10% bet guarantee in case you guess wrong on the coin flip. And if you are also here in the Pacific Northwest, haven't had your ducks cleaned after everybody's been here during this winter season, more than 15,000 dryer fires happen every year. So be sure to get your house and your dryer ducts cleaned by using, this one doesn't have a QR code. That's my bad. I hadn't created it yet, but you can go to Facebook, Archer Duck Cleaning, and schedule your appointment there. All right. So how was the presser?
Good. So they introduced the new high school coach at our high school today, and he had a surprise announcement to bring with him. And basically his surprise announcement was the offensive coordinator that he's bringing with him, who was the Packers quarterbacks coach. So not the official quarterbacks coach, but he worked with the Packers quarterbacks the last couple of years.
Oh, so he's like an assistant.
Yeah. And when he was a high school coach from 2011 through 2019, when he left for the Packers, he went 138-5 as a high school coach, won 77 straight games at one point with 5 state titles in a row.
Okay.
So he'll be calling the offense this year, and then one of the years that he was the head coach, the team averaged 56 points a game. They were never held under 42 points, and they went the entire 15 games without committing an offensive penalty. And that includes holding, false starts, anything. They went the whole 15 games without an offensive penalty.
That's impressive, actually.
I know that. I mean, that's impressive at any level, but these are high school kids. Like, that's for high school kids to go 15 games without committing a single offensive penalty is nuts.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, that's good coaching, right? Like, I mean, that's some incredible discipline to get those guys all on the same page. So yeah, no, that's awesome.
So yeah, he's going to bring his last couple of years of Packers experience to the high school level and try to basically develop quarterbacks, which is something he did when he was in high school too. He was always very good at developing quarterbacks.
Okay, nice. Hell yeah. Let's see. Oops. Clicked the wrong thing. And which high school is this?
My hometown, Little Shoot.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Well, the same school that I coach baseball at.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. So, jumping over to basketball for a second. So, Butler goes to the Warriors. Does that strand KD with the Suns? Because as toxic as that situation looked like it was becoming to get him out of the room, now the location that seemed to be the front runner and really kind of the only thing
He
that
turned
sounded
him down.
like a real option. What's that?
KD turned it down for the most part. I don't know if you saw that report, but Stephen Curry actually called KD about KD coming there for a reunion. They had like an hour conversation, and then when they got off the phone, Curry said KD basically turned it down.
Huh.
Like
Okay.
KD didn't really want to leave after talking to Curry.
Interesting. I mean, okay.
It could be the direction that Golden State is in right now, knowing that they don't have Clay anymore, knowing that Draymond is Draymond, and the team is just kind of stuck in neutral at this point, where they're either the final seed in the play-in or they're on the outside looking in right now.
Yep.
Durant goes there for the rest of this year. Realistically, how high is that team going to climb in the standings this year? Do they even have
the playoffs?
They'll get into the playoffs, but do they realistically have a shot to make any significant playoff noise this year? Probably not. You might win the first round series based on your seed, but I don't see them getting through like the Nuggets, the Thunder, or some of those other teams. So if you're gonna be in the same situation you're on right now with Phoenix as it would be to Golden State, it really doesn't pay for you to leave.
I mean, I don't disagree, but he's not going to win anything with Phoenix either. I would say if you have Phoenix and the Warriors side by side, you add Durant to the Warriors, they at least have a shot.
I mean, right now Phoenix is the 9th seed in the West, and the Warriors are the 11th. So Phoenix is actually ahead of Golden State right now.
No, I understand. I'm just saying that neither one of those teams are going to do anything. No. But if you added Durant to the Warriors, there's a better shot than if everything stayed pat the way it is.
Yeah, now, we've seen it before.
Now they get Butler. That can work.
As long as Jimmy shows up.
Well, as long as he's happy. But I would imagine he will be, at least through the rest of this season, because they gave him the extension.
Yeah.
Right. So he's going to come out and want to play. So, what's that look like moving forward? Yeah, who knows? It's Jimmy Butler, could be anything. But I don't know. We'll see.
Who would have thought the Memphis Grizzlies would have the second best record in the West?
Yeah.
They were terrible last year.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have thought so, but again, we still got a little bit.
We're past the halfway point. I think there's 30 games left, 31 games left. We're past the halfway point.
I guess we are.
I
guess we're a little further along than I was thinking.
Because the Bulls are 22-30. That's 52 games. This puts them 30 games left. So yeah, they're past the halfway point of the NBA season already.
All right. Yeah. Okay. No collusion in the NBA. I think there's some collusion everywhere.
I gotta ask, are you gonna watch that Nations Cup for hockey when it starts next week, or is that something that doesn't really interest you?
Next week?
Yeah.
That's something I would probably check out.
I kind of wish there was more teams involved than just those four. I kind of wish it was like because you're guaranteed you play one game against Sweden, one game against Finland, one game against Canada, and then the top two teams play for the championship or whatever. Mm-hmm. I kind of wish it was just like an 8-team tournament where it was just like standard, like single elimination. Just do an 8-team bracket. You win, you move on. You lose, you're done.
Yeah, I can get with that. Like that would be good.
Or even do like 2 pools of 4 where you play your 3 pool play games. The top 2 teams from each pool advance to the semifinals, and then the winner gets the championship. Because right now you have Finland, Sweden, Canada, USA. You could add Russia because Russia's got a major hockey following.
Who comprises the players on the U.S. team?
Like who the roster is?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can pull it up. But yeah, so you could add the Czech Republic and Russia as two more teams to that mix because both of them are obviously very, very big hockey countries. I'm trying to think of if there'd be two other countries that you could. Austria probably you could stick in there. What is it called again? I gotta look up what the tournament's called because if I type in USA hockey roster, it's gonna show up as the Olympic roster, and I don't want that.
Yeah. Well, that was what I was alluding to. Is are these?
It's gonna be so 4 nations face off.
So it's gonna be like.
I mean, there is
hockey guys.
There is some low level hockey players, but there are some. So right now, this USA they have legitimate. You have Matt Boldy, Kyle Connor, Jack Eichel, Adam Fox, Jake Ginsel. Goalie is Connor Helbig, Quinn Hughes, Jack Hughes, Chris Kreider, Dylan Larkin, Austin Matthews. So yeah, this is legitimate NHL players here.
Yeah.
Jake Ottinger.
So that was my main question, right?
So yeah, they're taking this actually pretty serious.
There was also the Nations League for like tackle football, and we got absolutely killed because we didn't have any pro players on it.
Yeah, they're taking this pretty serious. So I think if this has success as like they think it's going to have, I would not be surprised to see like Russia, Czech Republic, Austria, and then one additional team added next year to make it like 8. Those are like the 7. Those are like the 7 main countries where a lot of the hockey players come from. So they'd have to find like an additional country where you can have enough players to field a roster. Even if you only add 2 more, you could essentially add just Russia and Czech Republic. Do 6 games? You could do basically you play everybody once. That's 5 games, and then the top 2 records get the championship at that point. Because Czech Republic and Russia are even bigger hockey countries than Sweden and Finland.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, if it gets traction, then yeah, I could see other countries wanting to join in. Absolutely.
Like this is stuff that I love. Like this is the one thing I love about hockey and soccer more than baseball. Well, I shouldn't say baseball, but more than like football and the NBA is soccer. You have a World Cup every 4 years, but then throughout like that 4-year waiting period, you have all the international friendly games where the teams are facing each other. You have the Gold Cup, the Nations Cup, like all these other international tournaments where you still get this kind of stuff. And now with hockey starting this, you don't have to wait 4 years to see these teams face each other in like an international setting. You're now getting this possibly every year. And then that's what they're talking about actually with the World Baseball Classic now. You have the World Baseball Classic that's every 4 years. But now they had that new thing that they had this year that was called the Premier 12 or whatever it was. Now they're planning on starting that every single year. So you're getting a lot of the international competition in baseball now year in and year out.
Well, I mean, if this international football thing takes off, it potentially could too. I think I want to say there was 6 teams. I don't remember. I didn't watch any of it, honestly. But, I did kind of keep an eye on it because I was like, oh, I mean, it'd be interesting if it became something. But when I saw that the roster was like nobody, it was just like, okay, I mean, we're not trying to win, right?
Yeah. But when it comes to baseball, though, you have like all these winter leagues in like Venezuela, Dominican Republic, Mexico. Like it'd be so easy to just do an international tournament right during the time of these winter leagues because so many players are playing still, anyways. You'd easily be able to field rosters.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, it'd be the North American Classic, right?
Yeah, like you play the games in like obviously warm weather stadiums, play the games in Mexico, play the games in Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and then you can have like Brazil and all these other teams added to the mix, Japan.
Or yeah, I guess the American Classic, because I guess you'd have Brazil in there too. So that would do North and South America.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I mean that'd be fun. That'd be fun. So you doing anything entertaining for the Super Bowl? Like you can go do anything or?
Nah, but my son's got a basketball tournament Sunday morning. Weather permitting, we're supposed to get 11 inches of snow Saturday. So we'll see if they have that tournament Sunday morning. But if they do, that's where we'll be most of the day Sunday.
Oh, okay. So you're not even going to see the Super Bowl probably.
No, I will. The tournament's done by like 3. It starts at 9 and goes till 3. Super Bowl starts at 5:30 my time.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't thinking of the time difference. I was like, well, that's literally when the game starts. So
Super Bowl starts at like 5:30 my time, so we'll be
yeah.
home. But just if we're gone all day, we're not going to do anything special. If we're not gone due to weather, probably maybe just order food in or something because when there's that much snow on the ground, you don't want to do anything anyways.
No, I mean, that's fair. That's fair. Like all our snow's already gone. So we only ever get a couple days of it. It's entertaining and then it goes away and we just, get back to life as usual. But for me, I think I'm going to probably just go hit like wings or something. Because normally I host a party, but I was trying to be I was trying to be in New Orleans. And so I didn't set anything up. And then with going to Alabama, I was like, okay, well, I'm definitely not going to go to Alabama, come back, and then try and host a party that next weekend as I'm trying to like get back on normal schedule.
Right.
So, but at the same time, I just didn't make any plans at all. So I was like, maybe I'll just run over to Wings and just hang out and, because if for nothing else, the atmosphere of those places during, championship games or Super Bowl or whatever are always fun. So, so that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. I might call people. I don't know.
What's your prediction?
I'm going to go 27-24 Birds. So we're gonna just hit the over because the over's 48.5.
Yeah.
So with mine, 51. So that's kind of. So I'll hit the over. I'm gonna go with the Birds by a field goal. The thing is if it's close late, it's hard to go against KC because they find a way to win those games.
I'm going 23-20 Chiefs.
23-20. Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, I understand both defenses are good.
I think it's going to be a low-scoring first half. I think it's going to be like a 6-6 halftime score. I think it's going to be a very low-scoring first half.
I would go with that for the first quarter. Like, I could see the first quarter being real slow because the Eagles have not been good opening first quarter and really haven't been great scorers in the first half.
Yeah.
As a whole. But in the second half, they're one of the best scoring teams in the league.
That's why I think it could be like a 6-6 game at halftime just because the Chiefs are kind of the same way. They
are.
Get off to a slow start, but then the second half, they start just flinging it.
Except they do generally have a better second quarter.
They do, yeah.
So that's why I don't think it will be quite that low, is they're going to be able to find some weaknesses. They're going to get in the end zone. So I would bet you're looking at a halftime score of like 10-7. Right. And then from there, it'll open up in the second half. Saquon will tear off a couple of big runs and, Kelsey will get, a red zone touchdown. And
Mahomes will do a sideline run where he looks like he's going to go out of bounds, stays in bounds, and runs at another 9 yards.
Oh, for sure. And then you'll hit him and he'll get another 15 or so. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like there's going to be some dumb stuff in this game for sure. But I think the Eagles are a better enough team overall that they can win this. Again, if it's late and it's close, that's where I'm worried. If it comes down to coaching decisions,
that's what I think. That's what I think it's going to come down to. I think Nick Sirianni is going to try to get too cute too early. And if he's got like a fourth down play, instead of just punting it and trusting your defense, he's going to go for it. And it's going to end up being short. And the ball's going to be either at midfield, close to midfield, or in Philadelphia territory where the Chiefs capitalize. And that could be the difference. The one decision that you made that you shouldn't have made.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I worry about. It's either going to be a coaching decision that's an issue. I don't think it's going to be a penalty problem.
No, because the Chiefs are very good at stopping like tush push type of plays.
They are
and that's why like if Philadelphia has a chance to run a tush push near midfield, I can see Sirianni going for it.
Oh, no question.
The Chiefs stopping it, and all of a sudden now they only got to go 15 yards and they're in field goal range. They end up getting either a field goal out of it or even a touchdown, and that could be the difference in the win or the loss because the Chiefs made that one stop that you should have punted.
Yeah, well, I mean, it really depends. Like if I'm the coach in that scenario, right, and we haven't been able to stop them, I'd go for it also. Right? Yeah. Like if our defense hasn't been able to stop them for whatever reason, then I'm going to go for that on fourth down also, because we haven't been able to stop them, right? So I want to try and keep my drive going, keep them off the field, whatever. So it's not like I fully disagree with some of those situations. I mean, some of them you just got to be reading what you actually have in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And exactly, Rob, I think officiating is going to be pretty fair. Like I don't see the tinfoil hat action coming into this one, especially with the ref conversations that have been going on, the 2 weeks leading up to this game. And it's not even like low level stuff. It's been all around the Super Bowl, like Radio Row. They've directly asked Goodell. They've talked to present and past referees. Like, I mean, it's there's so much story wrapped around it. There's no way they're going to come in and do anything like that. So I do think it's going to be a very fair game when it comes to officiating. And really, it's probably going to be like a lot of postseason play where they just swallow the whistle, let you battle it out.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's how it should be. I mean, really. So, but yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a good game. Should be an absolute battle because both of these teams are, they're pretty evenly matched. The Eagles are a little bit better team across the board, but not enough that makes you think it's going to be some wild scores, right? Like It's not like they're going to just run over KC or anything like that. So plus, I mean, KC has years of experience of doing this. Yep. So that's where I worry about that close at the end situation.
Right.
But what about you? So you think it's going to be the under then?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the under, yeah.
Okay. All right. I think one of the more fun prop bets that
both of these teams are very good at the bend and not break defense, where they don't care how many yards you get between the 30s. Yep. It's once you get to the 30s is when those yards are tough to come by.
Well, and so that's actually why I like one of these prop bets that's floating around. There is a prop bet that is a plus 750. So the payout on it would be decent. And that is Saquon getting 25 yards each quarter.
Oh, I would not take that bet.
You don't think he gets 100 yards for the game?
I think he gets 100 yards for the game, but I don't think he gets 25 each quarter.
So I think
he might have I think he might rip off like a 40, 45 yard run at some point, but I also think there could be a quarter where he gets next to nothing.
So I think that's the first quarter. The first quarter is the one that could ruin that play.
Yeah.
Because the Eagles have played so poorly in the first quarter of games. There's a real shot. I mean, outside of last week where he just ran one down the field on the first play. But by and large, that hasn't been what's happened for the Eagles during the course of this season. So I like that prop bet. There's a reason that it's plus 750, right? Yeah. But I like that prop bet because if you get through the first quarter, the odds of that happening is pretty high.
Exactly.
So the biggest question is that bet could be wrapped up in the first 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But if you survive the first quarter, there's a good chance it pays out.
Right.
The other one that looked kind of fun is Hurts and Mahomes combined going for 60 rush yards and 2 touchdowns is a plus 600, or 100 yards and 2 touchdowns is a plus 900. Now the tush push exists. So the 2 touchdowns.
The 2 touchdowns I think will happen. I don't know if the 60 yards will happen.
I bet the 60 does. I bet the 100 doesn't. Like
100 wouldn't.
I wouldn't touch the 100 yards. The 60 yards I could see because Mahomes is going to rush for
35, 40 maybe.
Probably, right? And for Hurts, that means Hurts has to scramble twice.
Right.
60 yards is a real possibility.
Yeah.
So at plus 600, I kind of liked that one. Now I can't sports bet here, so it doesn't matter. But those are two prop bets that I probably would have entertained. And then of course there's always the coin flip, right? And I guess I'd go tails.
Fair point.
I mean, 50-50, right?
Yeah. So, 50-50 shot.
That's right. So, and I think tails wins like 52 point something % of the time. So, but yep. So yeah, that's kind of the way I see it. We are at the top of the hour. If you've been hanging out with us, be sure to like and subscribe. Helps us bring our content to you. If you're on Roku, stay tuned for the next hour. Otherwise, we hope you enjoy Super Bowl Sunday and the game. For the sake of Pags, go Birds.
Have a good weekend.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports.